O God, be not far from me. O my God, make haste for my help. Psalm 71, verse 12. The psalmist answers his enemies' arguments with prayer. They declared God had forsaken him. His response is not to argue the point, but to call on God. The prayer itself refutes the lie. A man abandoned by God does not pray. A man who prays has not been abandoned. The petition contains two movements. First, the psalmist asks God not to withdraw. Distance is the thing he fears most. Not death, not his enemies, but the absence of God. Second, he asks God to move. The word haste carries urgency without panic. The psalmist is pressing. He knows where help comes from, and he presses toward that source with everything he has. Let them be confounded and consumed that are adversaries to my soul. Let them be covered with reproach and dishonor that seek my hurt. Psalm 71, verse 13. The psalmist prays against his enemies in specific terms. He asks for four things: that they be confounded, consumed, covered with reproach, and with dishonor. These are not idle wishes. They are deliberate prayers rooted in the conviction that God governs human affairs and brings justice to those who pursue the innocent. The phrase, adversaries to my soul, identifies what is at stake. His enemies are not just political opponents or personal rivals. They have targeted his life. The prayer matches the threat. He asks God to do to them what they intend to do to him, not through his own hand, but through God's sovereign action. This is imprecatory prayer, and the psalmist makes no apology for it. He brings the full weight of his situation before God and asks God to act as judge. That is not cruelty. That is faith in divine justice. But I will hope continually and will yet praise thee more and more. Psalm 71, verse 14. The contrast is sharp. His enemies will be confounded. He will hope. His enemies will be consumed. He will praise. The word continually removes any condition from his hope. He does not hope until circumstances improve or until his enemies fall. He hopes without interruption. The phrase more and more pushes forward. His praise does not plateau. It grows. Each day of affliction becomes another reason to praise the God who has not abandoned him. His praise increases. My mouth shall show forth thy righteousness and thy salvation all the day, for I know not the numbers thereof. Psalm 71, verse 15. The psalmist commits his mouth to a specific occupation, declaring God's righteousness and salvation. These two words carry the entire story. Righteousness describes God's character, his absolute moral perfection, and his faithfulness to his covenant. Salvation describes his action, what he does on behalf of those who belong to him. The phrase, I know not the numbers thereof, stops the reader. The psalmist cannot count God's acts of salvation. They exceed his ability to catalogue. Every deliverance, every provision, every morning that he woke, still breathing under God's protection, adds to a number that has no ceiling. That inexhaustible record fills his mouth all day. I will go in the strength of the Lord God. I will make mention of thy righteousness, even of thine only. Psalm 71, verse 16. The psalmist declares his movement forward. He goes forward not in his own strength, which is failing, but in the strength of the Lord God. The full title, Lord God, combines Adonai and Yahweh, the sovereign master, and covenant God. The psalmist draws on both.